All right, turning to our next discussion now, we have Senator Melissa Hurtado joining us. If you want to come up on stage here, I'll be the one chatting with you as well. Senator Melissa Hurtado is the youngest woman ever elected to the California State Senate. Her district in California's Central Valley is home to some of the richest and most fertile farmland. You want to have a seat over here? Or you want to? Sure. Okay. All right. In the legislature, Hurtado is known as a thoughtful policymaker who works across party lines, working on issues of her local community, as well as ensuring rural voices are heard. She focuses on community issues, clean air and water, food insecurity, inequities in environmental policies, agriculture, and access to health care in rural communities. She's also been a huge champion of water infrastructure. And I just want to kind of turn it to you now, just get your take on what has really stood out for you most this legislative session.
Well, a whole lot. As many of you know, I represent California Senate District 16, which encompasses the counties of Fresno, Tulare, Kings, and Kern. And for the last 5 years that I've been in office, I've been dealing with a drought. But this year, it became a little bit different. On one end, we're still dealing with the drought, but on the other end, we're also dealing with the reemergence of the Tulare Lake and the floods. And it's something that, quite frankly, you want to prevent and do as much as you can to navigate these uncharted waters, right? That quite frankly, we were in a way expecting, but we could have been better prepared and we weren't. And so a lot of my time and my focus this year has been in dealing with the floods in the region, but also just trying to figure out how I can be helpful moving forward.
Great, yeah, and talking about one of your priorities here is you've had for 2 years now running a couple of bills on about foreign governments owning farmland in California. Can you describe a little bit of that, what you've been working on with that, where it stands, and why you think there's a big need for this?
Yes, so last year I introduced the Food and Farm Security Act, which would prevent foreign governments from buying agricultural land in the state of California. That bill made its way through the Assembly, through the Senate, with bipartisan and almost unanimous support. It got to the governor's desk and it got vetoed. I said, okay, well, we'll try again. There was, I think, a lot more education that needed to be done. We did a lot more. There's a lot more conversations going on in the legislature and between members about just protecting agricultural land. And so we decided to give it another shot and reintroduce the bill. We made some amendments. We had more conversations. And yet again, it was a hurdle. This time it was a bit of a hurdle moving the bill forward through the first committee, and then, of course, even through my own committee, it was a bit of a challenge. But we had conversations. We made our case, and we said, look, when we talk about climate change, we need to be having conversations about water security and also food security, because that's really what's at stake here. And we take pride in the ability to provide food for the world, and I think we should continue to be able to do that. But we can only do that if we have control of our own land, and if we know how to manage it. And we the data seems to be a bit off. Data needs to be worked on. That's what the bill was looking to do, is collect data as well. And it made its way. So it got out of my committee, but when it got to the Senate Appropriations Committee, it didn't make it out. And so obviously there's still a lot of work to be done, a lot of education. As a matter of fact, today we're going to be we're inviting everybody here and outside to come to the screening of the documentary called The Grab. It will be filmed at the Crest Theater at 5:30, and it really just to kind of get an understanding of global water security and global food security.
And some of the debate over that bill this year has come surprisingly from agricultural groups. Can you just describe some of those conversations, how you're working with groups and trying to work on this bill with agriculture?
Well, look, quite frankly, this bill, I've always been a fighter for our farmers in the Central Valley and the state, and being the chair of the Senate Ag Committee. That's my role, is to protect our communities, improve our communities, and making sure that our farmers get all the resources that they can to be successful. Obviously, there's a lot more work to be done in that area to give that support to our farmers here, but at the end of the day, it's about protecting our farmers and protecting our food security here in the state of California. And so a lot of the concern really stemmed from, well, this bill would prevent investors from investing in California farmers, and that's not what the bill was going to do. The investors still had the ability, foreign investors still had the ability to invest in farms, and I know that part of dealing with climate change and the impacts of it is public-private partnerships and making sure that there's private investments also coming in to support our farmers and our ag community. But we also have to be cautious. I think we have to be cautious about the way that we approach that, because I don't want any one of my constituents or anyone in the state of California being taken advantage of in any kind of way. And we really have to look at the challenges beyond the one that's in front of us. Yes, we need investments, but we also need to be looking out to and making sure that farmers are not being taken advantage of.
Yeah, and we're getting got one question anyway coming in on Slido here. We talked a little bit with Assemblymember Fong about some of these bills aiming to reform water rights in different ways. The question is, what do you need from us in the agriculture community to help with these water right bills?
I need you to be all here having conversations with your representative and other members of the legislature. We need to make sure that they're as educated as possible when it comes to this, and I know it's a very challenging topic. I know it is for me at times, but I want to stress the importance of those bills and making sure that we either get the right amendments in there or if we can prevent them from moving forward. And I'm having conversations already with some of the authors. I want to be helpful. Once again, I want to be helpful. I think we're all on the same page. We all care about our communities. We care about our ag communities. Water's on the top of our minds, right? We all care, and we're concerned about water security for our farms. We're concerned about water security for our communities. So we're all on the same page. We just have to make that reflect on legislation.
Great. You've been so active in so many different areas when it comes to water policy. One of them that's grabbed a lot of headlines is your bill for establishing a pilot program for kind of a supplemental pay for farm workers who have lost work due to the drought. I assume for floods also. I'm just curious what kind of stories you've gained from your district and when you were working on this bill. How have farm workers been impacted?
Yeah, well, I'll say that this has been. It's all really, when it comes to water security, when it comes to supporting our agricultural employees and supporting our farmers, it's all personal to me because of where I come from and my family's history as well. So they immigrated from Mexico. Actually, as a matter of fact, my parents are right outside, this building, and really the effort to protect our workers, to protect our farmers, it comes from my background. And what I've been hearing on the ground right now, it reminds me a lot of the same challenges, but even more so now that my parents faced and other farmers faced during the earlier years during the drought in the 90s, and and we got to do more to support them. So the whole idea of getting the supplemental pay was to help the farmers, help the farm workers. Obviously, the help and the support is not being felt by either, and that's what I'm hearing, that the farmers are not getting the support that they need when it comes to the floods, and the farm workers are not getting the support that they need when it comes to being laid off. So obviously, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. I've been doing as much as I can, doing legislation, commenting on newspaper articles, whatever it is that I can do to make sure that the voices of farm workers and farmers are heard, and especially during times of challenges like the drought and with recent floods.
Great. And as Senate Ag Chair, you've hosted for a couple of years now, I believe. You've hosted some great informational hearings, just covering a range of topics. You had one on the Farm Bill recently. Got a lot of input on that. Is there anything else that you have planned in the works right now for the committee you'd like to focus on? And if not, is there a wish list of things you would like to do, if you could, with this committee?
Well, there's a whole lot. I think that there's a lot that needs to be covered. I think part of my challenge right now at the moment is figuring out how to narrow it down. Obviously, the Farm Bill was getting a hearing on that and making sure that we got input, and that we got input from folks was important in making sure that we sent that input out to our congressional representatives is of importance. But I'm looking at continuing to do the work on cybersecurity, continuing to do work on, if I can, water, SGMA. Obviously, there's a lot of things that impact farmers and our ag communities, and so I want to be able to do more. It's just a matter of narrowing it down, and so I encourage you all to reach out, to engage, and we will be having more hearings as the months come along, and hoping to have all your support when it comes to that.
I know you really built a name for yourself in the agriculture community when you first started, and for a few years there, you're really championing more infrastructure dollars for conveyance to fix and maintain our existing canal systems. Have you been working on anything else on that front?
Not as of, look, I can't do this work alone. I still feel and believe that we need to get the funding for water infrastructure, but I can't do this work alone. And part of the reason why we were successful in getting $200 million to fix our canals was because of the coalition that came together. And so I'm hoping that individuals at the coalition is not discouraged by the outlook of at the budget, and hoping that we need to continue to have this conversation, because there's still a lot of work that needs to be done when it comes to water infrastructure. And obviously $200 million is not enough. We need a whole lot more, and our water challenges are only going to continue to get worse, and that means that the longer we wait, the more money it's going to cost, and that all plays a role in the pockets of everybody.
Great. Are there any last words you'd like to share with the agriculture community when we're talking about the legislative session this year?
Lord, just thank you so much for the invitation, for having me here. I'm so happy and excited to be back and joining you all. I look forward to hearing about everything that you have to comment on when it comes to issues regarding to ag, water, and all things about food. Thank you so much.
Great. Well, thank you so much.